What's good, Josh? I'm Makai. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that nonsense you know what to do. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not the Los Angeles Lakers should trade for Chris Paul. And honestly, I don't think that's such a smart move for the Lakers because you got to realize Chris Paul has such a massive contract and he's not, some young guy. He's getting up there in age. He's in his 30s, his early 30s. For a basketball player, that's pretty old. Besides a couple of anomalies, in the past years, like LeBron, Kareem, I suppose, like besides those guys, when you're in your late 30s as a basketball player, you're not going to really want to lock yourself in a contract with a team. Or, I should say, the team's not going to want to lock themselves in a contract with you for such a long time with so much money. Chris Paul is making, over $40 million a year. He got that huge contract from Houston, and they traded him, and OKC took on that contract, gave up the Westbrook contract. And now that the Lakers have won the championship, people are gonna throw out these crazy ideas. Not crazy, but because you see the connection. LeBron and CP3, they're friends. They're part of the Banana Boat crew or whatever you want to call it. And they just want to see LeBron have another, playmaker when he leaves the court. Kind of like the role that Rondo played this year, but somebody who actually is a scoring threat. But to be honest, the Lakers, they should not go for this move because this is gonna ruin their depth. And it's like they already have such little bench scoring, like little consistent bench scoring. Like who they got? Kyle Kuzma. He's not really, a consistent bench scoring guy. Like he's good for a couple points, maybe 10, 12 points a night. But other than that, he's really just a whole negative. He's definitely a negative on defense. He doesn't take the best shots. So it's really rough having Kuzma as a bench scoring option. You got Caruso coming off the bench. I like him a lot better than I like Kuzma. Better defensively. I'm pretty sure he can pass the ball. And he's just overall a better player than Kuzma is. But still, that's not a guy who, knocks your socks off when he comes off the bench. So it's like, do you really want to have to sign even worse players? Because you got to realize, you have to trade Danny Green. You have to trade Kyle Kuzma. KCP's a free agent, Ronald's a free agent, so you're gonna have to trade, a lot of guys to, match the money that you have to spend to pay Chris Paul that money. And honestly, do you need Chris Paul at this stage in your career? Like, do you need Chris Paul along with LeBron and AD? Like, I would understand if the Warriors were still they still had that squad with KD, and you're trying to create the biggest collection of talent to, beat them. Because for a couple of years, that's what a lot of teams were doing. A lot of teams were trying to stack all the people they could together, all the talent they could together in order to, go at bat with Golden State. But none of that team is not, formed anymore. Do you really need three, all NBA players? I don't think you do anymore. I think the pairing of LeBron and AD is just fine for the foreseeable future. Because it's like, you got to realize, LeBron, he needs the ball in his hands to be effective. Chris Paul is another guy who definitely needs the ball in his hands to be effective. And it's like, do you really want to take away those touches from AD? Like, when you have a lot of guys who are ball dominant, because you have to slice up the touches. Like, everybody has to get their touches, everybody has to get their numbers. And it's like, somebody's going to have to take the back seat. And what's the point of, trading for Chris Paul, trading all that depth, trading all that money away and paying him all that money? What's the point of that just for him to not be able to be used as effectively as he could elsewhere? And I'm not really surprised that people came along with this trade idea because, people want, I don't know what it is nowadays. People want, these teams to just really do the stupidest trades. And it's like, some of the trades I'll be seeing, it's like, why would this team ever want to do that? But yeah, when it comes to the Lakers situation, they're going to be just fine as long as they, make some small moves in free agency, because this year in free agency, they could have gotten a lot better players. I don't recall exactly who was available, but I remember that Kawhi Leonard, he swindled them. Basically, he said, the hint that he was given was that he's going to sign with the Lakers. So the Lakers didn't sign anybody in free agency to clear up the max money for him. But what wound up happening is that they waited too long. He did the whole swindle and went to the Clippers. Clippers traded for Paul George. And then they had to settle for a guy like Danny Green. And they had to pay him $15 million a year. And I just think there was just a lot better, much better free agents on the market last season. Not like, top tier free agents, but I'm talking like role players to put next to, Braun and AD. I think they're a lot better options than Danny Green. And like Danny Green was cool at first. I don't know what happened to him in the playoffs. It's like he turned off his sniper switch. He just turned it to a zero. It was just ridiculous. But yeah. So do I think the Lakers should trade for Chris Paul? No, I don't think the Lakers should trade for Chris Paul. Chris Paul is better off going to a team like Milwaukee or something. Because I don't think Chris Paul, actually, no, I think he would want to go to LA because that would be an easy title for him. But you got to realize, do the Lakers want to pay that old man, not old man, but do they want to pay a guy like that all that money when they just won the championship, with 2 stars? So, having those 2 stars, it works. You don't need your role players to, play amazing every night. We saw how that works, but if they were to trade for Chris Paul, 2 of them would have to have a great, amazing game. So that means the one time 2 of them are off, then they're gonna have a hard time in the playoffs. And I just don't think that at LeBron's age, y'all can, afford to be messing around, because you can't afford to be taking, crazy shots in the dark in free agency or in the trade market. It's just not a great idea for the Lakers to do. And, once again, the Lakers don't really have a lot of valuable picks. Only real trade pieces they have is Kuzma and Danny Green. I guess Quinn Cook, JaVale McGee, I suppose, but the real guys are Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma. That's the ones who really have any trade value at all. So, do the Lakers want to give that up for mid-30s Chris Paul? I don't see that happening. I don't see a reason why they would do that, and it just doesn't make any sense from the Lakers' standpoint. Anyway, if you stayed to the end of this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.